Welcome to The Know, I'm Brian.
And I'm John.
It's not uncommon for video game consoles to be a part of criminal investigations, but that's a weird intro.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not all too often that tech companies publicly reveal the extent to which they're willingly going to hand over user information to the authorities.
This is going to be a fun news. This week it came to light that Sony handed over PS4 user data to the FBI as part of a terrorist investigation, giving us some more discussion about privacy, gag orders, and when it's okay for a tech company to hand over information on its users.
Yeah, buckle up. All right, here's what happened. Forbes reported this week on a just revealed search warrant execution document served to Sony Computer Entertainment America, aka PlayStation headquarters here in the States, by the FBI. Yeah, the FBI was interested in one user account in particular as part of their investigation.
The warrant was served last May as part of an investigation into a Kansas City man and gamer, apparently, who planned to travel to Iraq to fight for an extremist terrorist organization. Agents actually picked him up in Egypt before he could link up with any particular group. In the aftermath of the arrest, his PlayStation 4 became an item of interest.
They're like, how many trophies does he have? Does he have any platinum? Is he good, or is he just a shitty casual? A lot of that had to do with the man's brother mentioning that he spent a lot of time on his PS4 talking with strangers. Yeah, that's kind of what you do on PS4. And that he wiped the information off his PS4 before he left to travel. Naturally, that's going to make the FBI curious about what he was doing on his PSN account, because he probably wasn't just playing Rocket League.
You don't normally wipe your entire console when you leave for traveling.
Rocket strapped with bombs league.
Yeah, as you'd expect, Sony complied with the FBI's request, but the interesting part is that thanks to the warrant documents now being public, this is one of the first times we've got it publicly on record the extent that video game companies can and do comply with requests for user information. According to the documents, the tech firm dished out console activity, sales history, and even device messages and device message history for the user's PS3 and PS4 consoles.
So they're like, yeah, here's everything.
Here's everything.
Yeah, here's the time he bitched at somebody on Counter-Strike. Yeah. Right here is an important time to stress, though, that we're not painting this with any kind of judgment. No, it should go without saying that it's good that a terror suspect was apprehended lawfully. Plus, every tech company is legally required to comply with these warrants, so it's not just a Sony thing, which we'll discuss more in a moment.
Yeah. What makes this one unique is that, hey, it's all there for us to see. We don't often get a peek behind the curtain in this regard because the world of search and seizures and government warrants is a pretty complicated in the tech industry and fraught with a huge discussion around privacy.
Yeah, generally that kind of information doesn't become public in these kind of cases, and there are a few reasons for that. One is that when a console or device is involved, authorities can get a lot of what they need from the device itself. They'll issue a warrant for the device itself and see what kind of information they can learn.
Yeah, most of the time that's as far as the authorities need to go, but if they have reason to believe there's more to be unearthed, they'll contact tech companies directly. And the level of access that these companies return back to them is something that's become hotly contested in recent years, especially now with the ubiquity of personal devices and accounts basically connecting our entire lives.
Yeah, we all remember when Apple had that spat with the Justice Department after the company refused to unlock the iPhone at the San Bernardino shooter. That whole dispute revolved around Apple not wanting to give a method to the government that it could use whenever it wanted to pull user data. While the intentions at the moment were lawful, that didn't mean that they would always be, and Apple felt that that would set a dangerous precedent.
Yeah, and precedents are really what a lot of this discussion is about. There are probably very few people out there who disagree with the idea that the FBI should be able to investigate terrorist suspects to the full extent of the law and with due process. But there are also lots of people out there concerned about privacy and just how much information tech companies can be legally compelled to hand over to the authorities.
When that's used to put away criminals, great. Fucking let's have a party. But some don't want that door to be so easy to open, including a lot of tech companies. They're not cool with it.
Warrants like this aren't always made public for a variety of reasons, but a lot of companies let their customers know if user data was part of some type of investigation. However, they generally don't let people know what type of information they gave out.
Like Reddit, for instance, dishes out a transparency report every year to let people know how many requests they got for user account information from the government. Microsoft does something similar twice a year. If you're curious, Microsoft received more than 25,000 requests pertaining to 44,000 users in the first half of last year. They rejected 16% of them, gave no content data on 62% of them, and when required by law, gave out content data on just 4% of them.
It's a lot of porn. They're
Yeah.
probably getting, they're just
Oh,
getting
yeah.
everyone's porn
Most
history.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, everybody hands over data like this, but that's usually as specific as it gets. However, there are other times when data is handed over that tech companies can't even tell us about because of what's called a gag order. That's when the government forbids tech companies from disclosing whether or not it handed over any user data for a particular search.
And it's been a major sticking point for the tech industry for a few years now because they want to be transparent and tell users when they've had to release information. One way they've gotten around that, though, is by what's called a warrant canary. That's a little snippet of text that says the company has not received any gag orders. When it's missing from a transparency report, like when it was gone from Reddit's in 2015, it lets people know that, yes, the company probably did get a gag order that year.
They didn't gag us. It's very sneaky. Microsoft has also fought against gag orders in recent years, even going as far as suing the United States Department of Justice about them back in 2016.
At the time, Microsoft said, "We believe that with rare exceptions, consumers and businesses have a right to know when the government accesses their emails or records. Yet it's becoming routine for the US government to issue orders that require email providers to keep these types of legal demands secret. We believe that this goes too far, and we are asking the courts to address the situation."
That lawsuit was eventually dropped late last year because, well, the Department of Justice agreed to some new binding policies that makes it much harder to request a gag order. They'd been kind of heavy-handed with them in the preceding years.
So hey, maybe we'll get some more transparency like we did this time for the Sony case. What do you guys think of how tech companies and government agencies share information? I'll bet you have some thoughts. Do you want more transparency like we saw this time, or do you think tech companies should draw a harder line in the sand? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on gag orders and privacy, because it's bound to come up again, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the know. Say hi to the FBI guy on your webcam.
Hi. Stop sending me ads on Facebook. That vibrator was for somebody else.